Me and this thing ain't getting along real good today. But as you can see, that's in a mess back here. The ignition switch and all that's good. And most of the wiring is good. Even what comes out of here. Give me another light here because I got that focused on one thing. But you can see the wiring. This right here is all original wiring. All that is. And that's all in really good shape. Get my drill out of the way here. But you can see that's all in real good shape. That goes out to the headlights and park lights, and did have a generator on it. And I put an alternator on it because I put a 12-volt system on it. And you can tell my welding down there. Anyway, I did put an exhaust on it. You can buy them, the whole exhaust, but they're hard to come by. But anyway, my feat today, since I do not have any videos that I can watch, is how to take that cluster out. And I can see some screws. There's one screw. Can't see my finger, but anyway, one screw there. There's another one over there. I don't know if that's all of them or not. And it looks like there is a spring back there. I have no idea what that spring is for, or if you can even see it. There seems to be a spring right there. I don't know what that does. I'll have to find out. Like I said, I could not find any help on YouTube about this cluster at all. So I'm going to work for a little while, see if I can get them 2 bolts out that's in there. And then I will get back to you and show you exactly what it took. I'm going to try to rewire it today if I can. And I say rewired it. I'm not going to replace any of the wires that are good and that the coating and all is good on. But my turn signal wires, I want to make sure that it's wired the way it's supposed to be. I must have been in a hurry when I done that. But anyway, I'll be back in just a little bit, so don't give up on me. And we'll see if I can get that thing out of there. And if I do, I'll tell you how I done it. Alrighty, back on the 49 again. I started this yesterday, but it took 3 hands to do what I was doing yesterday, so I had to shut the camera down and try to get this stuff tore apart. I'm rewiring, or for lack of a better word, putting fuse block in this 49. I can't find the fuse in it anywhere other than the fan switch itself has got an inline fuse. Nothing else is fused. And I'll show you what I'm up against. If I can get some light here on the situation. Now, this is a 1949 Chevrolet Deluxe. So, and the main reason that I want to make this video is because I could not find any help at all. I couldn't find anything on what I'm doing. This instrument cluster right here. That's it. Taking that dude out to get to the wiring harness is a job. Let me see if I can put a little bit more light on this, but you can see all of the choke cables, the starter button, that's a choke, throttle, windshield wipers, or that's windshield wipers, and ignition switch. Well, you can see if I can get this around here. That's the ignition switch. All that had to come out. Actually, this is really kind of goofy, I thought, and I've worked on these things my whole life. This thing right here, as you can see, actually is what holds the instrument cluster in. 2 of these, or 1 on each side, that goes right in here. Then you've got 2 screws on the back side that have to come out. Now that's just to get that thing loose. Then there are 2 rods right here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but anyway, they go. See if I can get a little bit better light here. This is not simple when you don't know what you're doing to start with. But you can see, hopefully you can. Let me see if I can get it. You can tell where they go right there. That's bolted there, and it comes up through here. Let me go get my light. And I left it on anyway. But it goes in there like that. I don't know if you can see that or not. Right there's the hole. Let me back it out. Let me see if I can get it out. There's a hole. That goes in there. And then that one bolts on that side. And then it's got another one that bolts over here on this side that comes through this hole right here. You see that hole right there. Now that also holds the dash in, or helps hold the dash in. But you have to get those out of the way to get the instrument cluster out. And of course you have to take this panel off right here. I don't know what it is a bit. It's just a bunch of screws. This panel off. To start with, you have to take this panel off. And there's no way to do this with one hand holding a flashlight and a... Anyway, this panel goes right in here. You have to take all the screws out of it, get it out of the way. That gives you access to a mess. Because just because you can see it don't mean you can do anything with it till you start taking things off. The switch, the ignition switch is held on by 2 screws. You probably can't see it. There's a screw there and a screw there. That's what holds that switch on, or switch in. And then that's this plate right here. You can see that. It's that plate right there. That's where the 2 screws go in. Then you have to push this back to get, turn this light off. I know I may be going a long way around the barn, I may not be, I don't know. Let me find the switch here. Here's the switch. And I don't know if you can see it or not, you probably can't. But anyway, there's a little old, see that right there? That deal right there I've got my finger on? That hangs down. So you have to maneuver that out of there. That won't just fall out. Now there's 2 screws that you can take out of that plate down there, but I couldn't even get 2 of them. And I see washers and stuff over yonder that I've dropped too, but I know where they go. But now what I'm in the process of doing is trying to get that mess out of here where I can work on it. Where there's what I'm actually replacing. Let me see if I can get down to that. What I'm actually trying to replace is that fuse block. It ain't a fuse block, but that block right there. I don't know if you can see it or not. There is a bunch of wires that screw together right there. And I'm going to take that out and put this fuse panel in there, because I'm going to put air on it later, and this has only got 6.
But you can plug in a whole bunch of extra ones out here if you want to, and put fuses, inline fuses. That's probably what I'll have to do. But this is really simple as far as not much to it. And I can mount it in underneath there in such a way that it'll look a lot better or be out of the way. That panel that I'm talking about right there, get a better look at it now. Anyway, that panel right there actually bolts way back in here. I don't know if you can see it or not, there's a screw right there and a screw, get this out of the way. There's a screw there and a screw on the other side. That's what actually holds that panel in. Now you can see I got a mess. This is the original, as far as I know, switch, and it works. The ignition switch and everything works in it, but you can tell what I'm up against is bad wires. You can see that. And it's all cloth covered. There's none of that is covered with. I need to pull it out completely and completely rewire it, but I don't think I'm smart enough to do that. But anyway, time will tell. I don't know what I'm going to do right now. I get everything loose where I can get this. If I could get this part right here out, I could replace it. See if I get it around. If I can get this right here out, I can replace it. But they got wires connected to it that goes over yonder somewhere too. I got to find out. I believe it goes to the glove box light and whatever this glob of stuff is right here, which goes to the starter. There's several wires there, but I don't know what all they go to. But I know they go to the starter. But I've got to figure some way to get this conglomeration here out where I can repair or replace. Most of the wires look good. I mean, as far as figure they've been there for 75 years. So they don't look bad for 75 years at all. But I've got to repair, replace, whatever I got to do, I'm going to have to do. I looked at a kit to replace the wiring, but it's universal. If they make one for this, and which they're anywhere from $175 to $400, but I can't tell if it's just a glob of wires. I don't know how hard it would be, or I'm sure it comes with instructions. And I've seen a lot of you guys, YouTubers, totally rewire electronic ignition and all that stuff and get everything to working. It would be a hornet's nest to me. I never would figure it out. So I'm having to do this. Most of the things that I do differently than a lot of they do because I really don't have the money. That's a lot of money to invest in an old car, and I just do it because I like to piddle around. This old 49 means a lot to me because my dad had one when I was just a kid, just like it, and I've shared it with you before. Used to lay in the back of it, back there, the back window in the seat, and go to sleep on my way to church and back. But I had special memories with that old car, and I wanted one. I've been looking probably for 20, 25 years, maybe longer than that. But trying to find one that's all together, I could find the body with no motor or transmission, or find one that had a motor and transmission, but the body was no good. But this one was sitting in the middle of a field in Missouri, and I can't tell you exactly where because it was in the middle of a cow pasture. And these folks gave me instructions to get there, but anyway, it was hard to get to, down some really rough roads. And it'd been sitting there since 1965. So this car sat for years and years. When I got it, of course, old motor was froze up. And the seats was all in it, but they were rats and squirrels and everything else lived in it. All the floorboards was eaten out of it. A little bit of weight reduction, I think is what some of the guys call it, but and it does have some rust on the outside. Body itself is in pretty good shape. Frame's in real good shape. I've put new brakes, and I've been through that with you before, but I've done a lot to it to make sure that I could drive it safely. Radiator, I can't remember. The car was running cool, but I decided to put a water pump on it because it was leaking a little bit. And when I pulled the radiator out, which I still have it, the bottom hose, or where the bottom hose slides up on the collar, it was all rusted out. I don't even know what kept it from leaking. But anyway, and I've still got the radiator, and I'd like to have that fixed and put it back in. This aluminum radiator working real well, but man, you can't, a big bug fly down through there and it'll knock a hole in it. But anyway, that's what I'm doing today. I'm trying my best to get this thing back on the road. And what started all this to start with is I was driving it the other day. I just get it out and drive it every once in a while, and I could smell smoke. I could tell wires was getting hot, and I seen a little bit of smoke too. And I noticed my generator light or alternator light, gauge was going back and forth. But anyway, I drove it on home and found out that the wire that I had going to my turn signals had burned too. So I've got to do something. I want to get it to where I can get it out and drive it. I've been working on the windshield wipers too. They're vacuum. And I've got them to where they'll swipe, but it won't come back. So I've got to pull that thing plumb out and look at it and see. I've got to put a vacuum canister on it. These things require it because if you don't have stored vacuum in it somewhere, every time you give it gas, it quits wiping. So y'all don't know about that, I'm sure. But anyway, that's what I'm doing. I am back on the case again, hot and heavy. God has given me enough strength and the ability that I have to come out here and work on this stuff. This is not easy for an old man. When you go to laying down in places, I'm going to turn that on my light or my battery will be dead. But when you have to lay down in a place like that right there, on your back, to work on that, at 76 years old, that ain't the easiest thing in the world to do. And I don't have to do it, but I enjoy doing it as much as I can. I'm getting where can do less and less. But anyway, I don't want to sit here and bawl and squall about stuff like that. But that's what I'm doing. So you follow along here if you want to, and we'll see if we can get this thing back on the road. It has been a few days, but I'm back on the 49 again. I've got more projects than I care to talk about. But I'm in the process of rewiring this thing, not rewiring. I'm putting it in a place to where I put a fuse box in it and got it to where everything is fused now, and I don't have to worry about wires burning up. For the most part. A lot of it I did not replace. I don't know if I got this thing right or not. But anyway, I didn't replace a lot of the wiring in it because the wiring was really in good shape. There was 3 or 4 wires up and underneath there, and mostly dash lights that rats had got in there and chewed up that I had to replace, and I did that. But I've got everything else. It ran out of gas for one thing. The fuel gauge doesn't work right, and I went out to crank it up the other day anyway. It started to run just a few minutes and died. Come to find out it was out of gas. Well, I've got a gas leak, so I'm going to have to replace that tank, it looks like. And that tank is the original tank that came with it. All I did was clean it up and put it on there, and it worked fine until just here lately it started leaking. And I don't think the tank itself is leaking. I believe it's the sending unit for the gauge that's actually leaking, as best I can tell. But I haven't got time to fool with that right now. I want to finish this video on the wiring. Show you what I got. This is what I've done. This I don't know if you can tell much about it or not, but everything in there that I could get a hold of, take out, replace, remove, I did, to make sure that there was no bad wires anywhere. And there is not any bad wires. I went ahead and hooked up the heater to the defrost and all that stuff. Although the heater core leaks, so I'm gonna have to replace it, and that thing's about $400, so I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do about that. But I do have everything in here in pretty good shape, as far as I know. And I went ahead and and done the wiring harness. See if I can get it to where you can see it a little bit, but all the way from where it goes inside, all the way to the where it goes out to the lights. The wires out here are okay. Now that is cloth on the outside, but the insulation itself is still good. You can see where I've replaced all that when I put turn signals and things in it, so I had to redo that. But I've got all that fixed up pretty good. I don't know if you can see it or not. I'm going to try to get underneath here and see if I can show you what I did in here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me see here. Probably not. There it is. I put a fuse block in it. And that's really hard to see, but I've got 6 fuses, and then I've got a whole bunch of plug-ins right there on the end that I can put inline fuses in, which I did. And that's really hard to see, but I've got 6 fuses, and then I've got a whole bunch of plug-ins right there on the end that I can put inline fuses in, which I did. Because I'm going to put air in it and all that later on, but I'm not going to fool with that right now. I just mainly want to get it to where it's drivable, and I don't have to worry about nothing catching on fire or burning up. My heater core, you can see, is leaking. I pulled it out, and I'm going to pull it back out again. But anyway, that's where I'm at with it. I wanted to document that so I can finish this part of the video, because it's coming together. I mean, I'm doing this poor boy way. So the things that I'm doing to it, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about it. I drove it this morning and went and put gas in it. But like I say, I've noticed it does have a gas leak, so I'm going to have to take care of that. The ignition switch, you can see, I don't know if I can point it out or not. Not easy holding this thing, but the ignition switch, see if I can find my finger, is back in there. That's the ignition switch. That was the one I was telling you about that's got that little L thing on it, on the front of it, that you put the key in. And that was a booger to get out of there. And this instrument cluster has to come out from the back, not the front. And it was a booger. All of this bracing and stuff had to come out. All of this. You can see where it ties in down there. Actually kind of part of the steering column. But all that had to come out in order to get the instrument cluster out. And like I said, I'm satisfied with all of that. Now I do have let's see here. Get this over here, maybe where it looks a little bit more better where you can see it. There is now this right here is what most of them will put the brake master cylinder on. Now you can see that right there. It's got screws in it. I just stuck that tape over so air wouldn't come in there. But it looks pretty good once I got all that done. And it looks like a menagerie almost, but I know where everything goes and everything is good. I don't have to worry about nothing rubbing together, catching on fire. Brake lights, I got all that working. Turn signals, park. I've got everything on it working now, but I've still got to go back and pull that tank off and see if I can figure out what the issue is it, because I actually use this thing quite often. Turn that light out. Yesterday was a prime example. I changed the oil in my van. I pulled it in here and drained it and realized I didn't have the filter or the oil. So I decided to jump in the truck and take off. The battery was down on the truck. I didn't turn off my main switch, so it run the battery down. So I said, that's okay, the old 49's always ready. So I went out there and it kicked off just like it's supposed to. It run about 5 minutes and it quit. And it was out of gas. I didn't know it at the time, but anyway, I went ahead and charged the battery on my truck and used it. But you can go from 3 vehicles to walking in about 15 or 20 minutes nowadays. So that's just the way it is when you pull folks. But anyway, I'm proud to have that much of it done. And like I said, I've still got to put a heater core in it or replace or repair that one if I can. And I'm going to have to pull the tank off and see if I can figure out what the issue with this, see if I can fix it or maybe replace it. I don't think I've even showed you, but I have insulated the shop. I don't think I put a video out on it. I did this back during the summer. It would get so hot in here you couldn't work. And then I had quite a bit of particle board, Blendex, whatever you want to call it. So I put this up on the inside. I ended up with a lot more room. And I bought an old storage building. I didn't buy it, actually. I got it from my church, bought a new one, and I got their old one. I got our old one. But anyway, that's a 10 by 10. And it'll hold a lot of stuff, a lot more. I had a 10 by 12 rented. And that was $55 a month. But anyway, I got everything in it now, and I've got that other one shut down. But the shop itself looks much better than it did. You can't tell much about it now. When I get the car out, I'll get a better picture of it. But I moved the bench from this side, or actually from that side over there to this side, which works a whole lot better. I don't know why I didn't do it that way to start with, but worked in it three years, I guess, like that. There's my old 283, 57. And I've got the power glide that goes behind it. And a 54 Buick rear end. So I'm going to put all that in there one of these days. One of them round to it jobs. But anyway, guys, I appreciate y'all following along. Those that are, there's a few people that does follow and keep up with some of the junk I do. But I appreciate you guys, and until I start another project that I can finish, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.